So here in Virginia, it's a really varied economy. We're in parts of Virginia that are in many cases very rural. We're in a town in Lexington, which is very academic and actually very conservative. And yet, Barack Obama is very much in play in this state. This is still a toss-up because the urban centers have a different taste.
That's exactly right, Al. I mean, Northern Virginia is actually, the population has grown enormously, almost 15% in the state. And it is in these urban areas where the population is much more diverse than ever before and much more prosperous. Loudoun County, one of the key swing counties, is actually the wealthiest county per capita in the United States. And it's largely due to government spending.
Right, and in many cases there's a high-tech corridor and there are a lot of defense workers. Now these are not Defense Department workers, these are people who work in private industry contracted to the government.
Right, and the boom there started to begin actually with the creation of the Department of Homeland Security under the Bush administration. So you saw a lot of investment in those new areas of the government, and it really has continued. So all of a sudden you've got a fascinating dynamic. I mean, this is a state that hadn't voted for a Democrat since 1964 until Barack Obama won it in 2008. But that traditional Tea Party rhetoric, the anti-government, cut-spending rhetoric, which is really at the heart of the Republican Party,
doesn't play so well in Northern Virginia.
Exactly.
These people are in many cases prosperous because of government contracts, and because of defense spending.
That's right. And the big sort of Damocles heading over this election right now is sequestration cuts. $1.2 trillion in cuts, half of which would come out of defense spending, all kicking in at that fiscal cliff. So folks here are really anxious about the implications of that cut. It is their bottom line.
Except that in this election, there's a strange dynamic because under President Obama and his $4 trillion in proposed cuts over the next 10 years from the deficit, we're talking about defense spending reductions.
That's right.
Mitt Romney wants to increase defense spending.
He does. He's got a proposal to make military spending 4% of GDP, which would add $2 trillion to federal spending over 10 years, which would incidentally blow a hole in his deficit reduction plans. It would more than erase all the specific cuts he's announced to date. The primary focus is cut taxes, increased defense spending.
Right.
Even though government spending is the enemy, even though deficits and debt are the argument, when it comes to military spending, somehow there are a totally different set of rules apply.
So if you are an undecided voter in Northern Virginia and you're concerned about government spending, you might worry about what the Republicans will do to that. But then you're thinking, well, but Obama actually wants to cut defense spending and Romney wants to raise it. How does this end up playing out?
That's really one of the X factors in this election because it could cut both ways.
Yeah.
I mean, overall, that traditional Republican anti-government appeal is not going to work as well in these swing districts, which incidentally are swing because they've gotten more diverse. But you got to know, President Obama has his own deficit reduction plan, and he puts military spending on the table as well.
Very interesting discussion here in Virginia. Like the other swing states we've been going through, a lot of diversity of opinion within the state, and this one, again, like the others, is going to come right down to the wire.